Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horseshit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, start your engines. Coming to you live from the Replica Bat Cave with my partner in high crimes and misdemeanors, hiding somewhere deep in the depths of the jungles of Sparkleberry, being probed by aliens.
Now, wait a minute here. All right, first off, you can't say, gentlemen, start your engines until after you sing the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Then you can say, gentlemen, start your engines. But
that kind of reminds me of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Well, there you go.
Where are we just all over the map here lately?
Well, hey, I'm just playing. I'm just playing the cards I'm dealt, my friend.
Well, it's a crazy world. I recently watched a documentary on Hulu.
All right.
And the name of it just left me, but it's about the Ruby Frankie saga.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar with Ruby Frankie, she was her and her family, her husband Kevin and their 6 kids had a very popular family vlogging channel on YouTube called 8 Passengers. And her and her friend, I'll use air quotations, and I have talked about this a little bit before, but some new things have come out to light now that Kevin and the oldest son and the oldest daughter have spoke out because they were the ones that were the primary focus in this documentary. And essentially, Ruby and her friend Jody essentially are imprisoned for at least up to 30 years for child abuse because they believed that the 2 youngest children, who were 12 and I want to say between 8 and 10, were possessed by demons. They were handcuffing them up, not feeding them. They were emaciated. They had open wounds on their arms or their wrists and their ankles when the 12-year-old boy broke out and got to a neighbor's home and got the police called. But in this documentary, some things had come out that this person, Jody, was supposedly a therapist, and they were working on the marriage and stuff. And she believed that to live in truth, separation is part of truth. So she essentially told Kevin and the oldest son that they were going to have to move out and not have any contact with the rest of the family, because the oldest son confessed to him that he had been making out with his girlfriend, and that brought on demonic forces attacking Jody in the house. Now, you and I have talked about stuff like this before, and there is a special place in hell for somebody that hurts children.
Oh no, I agree.
But Kevin had actually filmed one of these things to where she's like talking in other voices. She wasn't talking to other voice. This all this stuff this heifer was doing was a put on. This was all the theatrical show so she could gain sympathy, get Ruby's sympathy. She had already brainwashed them because they
Mhm.
had bought into her cult crap. And it's just, truthfully, I hope they don't get out after 30 years.
Mm.
And I know I didn't give a lot of detail on that, but right, it just pissed me off when I seen it. And I was like, I feel kind of guilty, truthfully, because I enjoyed watching 8 passenger videos. I thought they were spontaneous as we were led to believe. And if I would have had any idea that it would have been having an adverse effect on anybody in that family, I wouldn't have participated in watching it.
Well, no, I can understand that, and I don't think I don't think that's a unique case where a lot of this stuff that is produced for online content is questionable. I mean,
Except for the content of the Carolina Underground. We're not politically correct. We're just correct.
but no, I mean, again, the what was it, the Duggars,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, I, I, the more the more I see of this stuff, the more I kind of believe that you just about have to be mentally unstable in some
well,
fashion to be in entertainment
well,
or
and what I
politics
find
for that
well,
matter.
and what I find really odd is on these family vlogs, though,
Hmm.
the majority of them tend to live in Utah and tend to be members of the Mormon faith.
Well, eh, 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 so, and I hate to go political right off the bat, and I
Oh,
feel
it
like
ain't never stopped you before.
but I hate to, but and
Oh,
we're gonna have to go political a little bit. But I mean, with all of the
okay.
stuff that's coming out from DOGE
Uh huh.
and Elon, and I watched a clip from Joe Rogan the other day where
Uh
Elon
huh.
was elaborating on stuff. I mean, the the powerful in at least the United States, they're like the old aristocrats from merry old England and France and
Hmm.
Spain. And when you get that level of money and power, it kind of ruins you to a large degree,
Right.
in my opinion. And once you get a taste of it, you don't want to let go of it. Now, I'm not
Right.
saying that everybody goes down that dark path, but
Hmm.
the good book does tell us that the love of money is the root of all evil. So, but and yeah, I mean, again, I don't have any. I didn't see the documentary, so I don't have any background information, and I've
Hmm.
never seen any of those videos, so I don't have a frame of reference to work with
Right.
here. Um, but I mean, since we've already dipped into the politics, did you catch any of the televised nonsense with Zelensky?
I did. I actually watched the interview with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I watched what was put on air. They didn't
Well, yeah, I
show
saw that.
they didn't show the however long it was before Zelensky started trying to push his agenda
Hmm.
on the American populace. But the guy's got I think Zelensky owns like a $3 million mansion in Florida,
Hmm.
and his wife bought like $1.1 million worth of jewelry. But meanwhile, they're dragging young men out of cars in
And off the
Ukraine
street. The
and
latest
off the
video
streets.
was a
Yeah,
young man walking a dog and just left the dog and put him in a black van and drove off.
yeah, and forcing them into conscription to go off there and get shot and killed.
Well,
So,
one thing I find funny is um, you have the UK's prime minister welcoming him with open arms.
mhm,
All these
mhm.
people, leaders of foreign countries, put out the exact same tweet at the exact same time.
Well, of course. But again, okay, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can trust anything that any leader of any nation says at face value, okay? But the fact of the matter is that NATO has been encroaching on, I mean, again, NATO was developed, it was the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was developed to protect the European countries from the Warsaw Pact nations, which were
Hmm.
Poland, East Germany, Yugoslavia, Chechnya, Slovakia, all of the Slovakian countries that were part of the United Soviet Socialist Republic. Okay,
Hmm.
when the USSR collapsed in the 90s, there was no more Warsaw Pact, and
Right.
Ukraine was the location of the vast majority of the nuclear weapons that the Soviet Union had, and they shipped them all into Russia shortly after
Hmm.
that. And then NATO, I mean, again, now NATO no longer has any opposition. Why does it still exist? Russia's not that big of a threat. Their gross domestic product is less than the state of California by itself. So why in
Well,
the world do we
but
need
see,
to
here's the
move
thing
into
though,
these
is
countries that were part of the Warsaw Pact?
well, here's the problem though. It's
Yeah,
not NATO. There is really no such thing because we're fronting the bill for all of it.
well, that's true. Yeah.
That's one thing I find odd about the European people saying they're going to do all this for Ukraine. Well, you
Hmm.
know what? Go ahead. We're the
Yeah.
ones that's been protecting all of y'all. So that'll make us to where, since you're so big and bad, y'all stand on your own 2 feet, and we'll just start making you reimburse us for our nuclear deterrent that's kept y'all safe since 1945.
But again, the whole bottom line is all it is a gigantic money laundering scheme for the military industrial complex. Okay. What was it that Eisenhower said when he left office? Beware
Hmm.
the military industrial complex and the influence which they, what was it, exert, hold, what was it? I forget the
I
exact.
don't know,
Yeah.
but he did warn us of
Yeah.
that.
But, and that's how all of these people, that's how politicians get into office making 120, $160,000 a year and become multi-millionaires. Actually, some of them billionaires over the course of their career. It's not all of them by playing the stock market because of what they're able to influence.
Well, no, that's because they got people that are 200 years old still drawing Social Security.
Yeah, and that's a money laundering scheme as well. But, I mean, again, so everybody's apoplectic. Um, and I mean, we're going to have to, I mean, and the fact of the matter is ultimately Trump is correct when he says you're not going to get to any sort of a compromise by calling somebody a war criminal. Okay. But again, go back, and I think we've talked about this before, the Bay of Pigs invasion, or excuse me, the
Hmm.
Bay of Pigs when, the Cuban Missile Crisis,
Right.
and there's a body of water separating Cuba from the United States.
Hmm.
There's nothing. There's a river separating Ukraine from the Soviet Union. So we absolutely provoked this. Nobody can sit back there and say that it was not provoked. Okay, and frankly, I'm on the side of the Trump administration. I want people to stop killing each other. Period. I don't care if it's MS-13 killing people. I don't care if it's Tren de Aragua. I don't care if it's Ukrainians killing Russians, Russians killing Ukrainians. Let's just stop killing each other. Okay. If we're going to have to kill each other, why don't we kill the people that are causing the problem? Because it's people like you and me and the gravy seals that are going, going to have to go out there and get shot at and shoot at other people, not the folks that are causing the dadgum problem. But, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get all hot and bothered.
Them aliens have been doing some weird poking on you, got you all fired up.
Well, no, what's got me fired up is a little brush with the medical industrial complex.
Oh Lord.
So my doctor retired, and
Well,
and
I mean, if you like him, you can keep him. That's what we've always been told.
Well, you can't keep him if he refuses to do anything anymore. That's
Oh, he has
yeah.
to.
But the end result is I started with a new outfit, and I was talking to the physician's assistant and all of that stuff,
Hmm.
and any rate, and both of the times that I walked out of the place, I'm like, well, what do I owe you? And they said, oh no, you're all covered, everything's good. Well, I just got a text message from them telling me that I owe them $234. So, and the only thing that's happened is I've gone in there and they've run labs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And this is the thing I've talked about before. Only attorneys, doctors, and accountants that's the only things in the world that you can walk into their office and have no idea what they're going to charge you until after the fact. When they decide what they feel like you owe them, then they're going to send you a bill and you have to pay it or they'll wreck your credit. And that's nonsense. Okay. I mean,
Well, now the credit score shit is a bunch of bullshit too.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But this is the thing. I mean, and I'm going to call them up and tell them that they were a month early because they sent it to me on March 1st instead of April 1st because that damn well better be a joke.
Well,
Okay.
I can say that I have been my doctor that I normally go to recently started. She joined another group, so to speak. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I've had to go through something similar, but mine have been actually, and I don't think it's the practice that she joined that did it. But I think it's her. She lays it all out and tells me, so this is the visit, this is the labs, this is what it's going to cost, and all of that. Because her and I have had this discussion before, and she actually had her prices posted when you went into her office, so you knew what you were going to pay before you even got started.
Well, and that's the way it should be. Okay. I mean, even when you go into the dadgum service at the dealership, they've got their rates posted for the most part. Now they're going to try to rip you off. They absolutely are. There's no doubt. But at least you've got something to go on. And if you do your own research, you can go in there and say,
So,
well, no, I don't need to have my brake fluid flushed
or your
because
blinker fluid flushed.
exactly, and stuff like
So
that.
what you're
So,
saying is the sticker line item for $700 to them all weather floor mats. I shouldn't have paid
hey, I don't know. They may be really nice floor mats, and I think you might have been a little cheaper by going with what WeatherTech or
that.
somebody like that, or a
Well, I
WeatherTech
can't.
knockoff.
I was drunk when I went up there to buy it, so
I was drunk the day my mama
got
got
out of
out of
prison.
prison. Now, but talking about medical stuff, there was a thing that I ran across that I thought was pretty interesting. And it was a woman. Let's see, what was her name? Her name was, my goodness, I read it down because I knew I'd forget it. Ellie Lobel.
Okay,
All right. And
Ellie Global.
she was a relatively young lady and she
Uh
was
huh.
very active and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, she just was fatigued all the time.
Okay.
Okay. And she wasn't in IT, so it wasn't going into the industry that we get to play in, which keeps you worn out all the time. But anyway, she was constantly fatigued for years and years and years and years. Doctors couldn't figure out what in the world was going on with her and stuff like that. Well,
Hmm.
eventually it turns out that she had contracted lupus
Oh no.
from a tick bite, and so she, of course, she was being treated for lupus and stuff like that and everything. But I mean, from what I understand, even when you're treated for lupus, you're still pretty much low energy and fatigued a lot of the time. But at some point, she happened to she was walking through the woods somewhere else, and she came upon Africanized, killer bees.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
killer bees, the difference twixt a killer bee and a regular bee is, I'm not,
Is
I
on
am a
the regular
beekeeper.
bee, murder ain't chose them yet.
Well, but
Because killer bees, they didn't choose murder. Murder chose them.
all right, now that's I'm not sure I follow you, but I'll
It's a
take your
rap
word
song.
for it.
It's a rap song.
Okay. Now, so their venom is, I think, more potent than your average bee. I'll have to do some additional research on that because I am a beekeeper. I should know this. But the other thing is that they don't just sting you. If one of them stings you and they sense the pheromones. Now, even regular bees, if you're messing around in the middle of the hive and one of them stings you, they release pheromones that alert the rest of the hive that there is a threat, and they will sting you too. But the Africanized or killer bees, man, they just go all in. Because again, when a bee stings you, it dies.
Right.
So other than an Africanized bee will go out of their way not to sting you. They'll try to scare you off before they do anything. But Africanized bees, they're just unhappy critters and they just go straight for the kill. But at any rate, so she got stung several times, and lo and behold, it cleared up and cured her lupus.
Oh, mercy. Well, that's amazing.
And there had been some studies done on that, but they got to the point where they needed to do human trials because you really, I mean, you can't, if you're doing animal testing on monkeys or rabbits or whatnot, you really can't ask them, do
Right.
you have more
Right.
energy?
Hmm.
So they got to the point where they were going to do human trials, and the Food and Drug Administration said, we're not going to do that. So, but here, this Ellie Lobel, she proceeded to do it herself. So, I mean, again, the bottom line is that pretty much everything that ails you, there is something on this planet that that should take care of it, other than just old age itself.
And doctors.
And doctors. Well, it's not the doctors so much; it's the fact that they want to. They one of the best phrases that I ever heard somebody say. It was a contractor that was doing some work for me, and I said, "Okay, well now it's getting to the painful part. How much is this going to cost me?" And he says,
Hmm.
"Oh, it won't be that bad. I want to fleece you, not skin you. I can fleece you multiple times, but I can only skin you once." And that's what they've forgotten. I mean, just it's the love of money. And so instead of treating people with respect, they want to just rape you for everything they can get out of you.
And they continually do that.
Yes, they do. So, but anyway, but I got another story of something that's not political or
Okay.
yelling about stuff.
Well, do tell.
Do tell. All right, I will. So and I don't know when this happened, but this young fella named, and he's in Russia, named Boris Kiprolovich or something like that. Kiprolovich.
Uh huh.
So he taught himself to read before he was even a year old.
Wow.
And by the time he was 3, he knew all about the planets in our solar system and probably more about astronomy than you and I still know at this point. And so he was absolutely a complete genius. And so another Russian doctor decided to start investigating him and checking him out when he was about 10 or 11. And I mean, he was advanced in physics, advanced in all kinds of stuff. He really, really,
Hmm.
really um, became, I mean, he was absolutely a genius. Now, so about the time that, they started studying him, I think around 8 years old or so. And about the time he was 10 or 11, he started telling him that he he knew all of this stuff and he knew all about the planets because he was from Mars, and he had all kinds of information about the Earth too that was hard to find. And he said the reason that he knew so much about Earth was because this wasn't the first time he'd come to Earth. That he had been to Earth before on from Mars on Martian
Uh-huh.
spaceships, and that the reason that Mars doesn't have an atmosphere anymore was because they had a massive thermonuclear conflict, and that's what wrecked the surface of Mars, and why there's no atmosphere up there anymore. Now he claimed that there are still people living on Mars, or rather Martians living on Mars, but that they live underground. Now, first off, if the kid's that smart, he probably has a pretty good imagination, and he could have made all that stuff up. But then
True.
there's also that woman that, and her name just completely escapes me at this point, that claimed she was reincarnated from an ancient Egyptian princess or something. And she was telling them about the gardens out there in the Valley of the Kings,
Hmm.
and she was, and they
Well,
found stuff right where she
well,
said
and
it
the,
was.
the funny thing is, a lot of people discount that stuff, but that's not necessarily just talking about ancient Egypt and Martians. There are recorded cases of kids talking about how they used to be fighter pilots in World War I and World War II,
Oh yeah,
giving exact details that there's no way that they would have any way of knowing it.
no, absolutely. And I mean, again, the whole reincarnation thing. I don't know. I mean, again, that's the only. I mean, because this child was born, okay, and he was born. He had parents, and they were with
Hmm.
him as he, progressed to be a year old, teaching himself how to read and all that stuff. So that's the only way that it could have been
Yeah, but
he
a
would have
year
had to be.
old learning how to read, that's
That,
phenomenal. I
oh,
mean,
it
that's
is.
just, yeah.
I mean, it's still astounding, even if he was making
Hey,
it
I
all
know
up.
people in their 50s and 60s that can't read.
Hell, most high school graduates these days, most college
Well, you
graduates
saw
these days
that
can't read.
there was a kid that graduated high school. I don't remember where it was at, with a 3.4 GPA, and he is now suing the school system because he can't read or write,
With a 3.4 GPA. My Lord, that is
and he
insane.
can't read or write.
Have mercy.
Welcome to America today. And you was talking about that. I thought you was going to talk about something else.
Well, what else did you think I was going to talk about?
Well, you ain't going to believe what I found.
What did you found?
Well, I want to set up. I'm going to tell you, it's story time.
All right.
And this may or may not have a point. I don't know. We'll find out when I get to the end of it.
All right. Buckle up,
You know,
Buttercup. Here we go.
and I know you've done this. You've been in the kitchen and you get out your mayonnaise and your bologna and your cheese
Now
and your bread.
I have to ask you an important question. Dukes or Hellmans?
Actually, I don't like either.
Oh my goodness.
I
Okay.
prefer Sours.
You know what? And I think we've talked about that before. Go ahead,
Hmm.
sir.
Yeah, Sours is the brand that I grew up with
Sours.
with
Yeah,
my
yeah.
yeah with my grandmother.
Well,
But you.
that's the funny thing about mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is one of the few mayonnaise people throw down over mayonnaise.
Oh, I'm getting ready to give you something funnier about
All
mayonnaise.
right, hit it. Go
So
ahead,
you
buddy.
sitting there and you got your fixings for your sandwich you're gonna make,
Yep.
because your wife ain't there to make it for you. Your girlfriend, they supposed to be in the kitchen making sandwiches.
Hmm.
And of course, that's probably gonna get us hate mail. But you know what? I'm fat. I'm old. And I'm in the South. Get over it.
Go ahead.
But my wife ain't here making mine either, because we found out the secret to a successful marriage is
Hmm.
we live in separate houses.
All righty.
True story. But anyway, you got your bread and your mayonnaise and your bologna and your cheese.
Hmm.
Have you ever, just when you was making you a sandwich and you just wanted mayonnaise so bad that you just would want to just dip down in it and eat it or drink it?
No, but go ahead.
Well,
I'm not that big of a
however,
fan of mayonnaise, but
there is a bunch of them.
um,
There, well, you better pull your socks up,
all right.
because drinkable mayonnaise is here.
Okay.
Evidently, there is a Japanese convenience store chain that has launched No Moo Mayo, and it is drinkable mayonnaise that you can pick up in a cup and start chugging before you ever leave the store.
Have mercy.
It's about I think they said it's about $1.30 for 200 milliliters.
All right. I, I
But
mean, I can.
they caution you though it is a mayonnaise style drink. It is not exactly mayonnaise.
Okay.
But
Well,
I
as
cannot think of. I just couldn't. I like mayonnaise on a sandwich.
you know,
I just don't think I just want mouthfuls of it sucking it down a straw.
well, I'm more of a mustard guy. So, I mean, in the first place, the minute
Well,
you
you
said
always have been a little spicy.
the one minute you said drinkable mayonnaise, I was sitting there thinking, well, I can hear people's arteries harden as we speak. But if we're, if you're just talking about a drink that tastes like mayonnaise,
I don't even think I could drink it. I just
I
don't think I could do it.
I don't believe I could either.
I
I
just
don't
have
want to
kind of
try.
just thinking about it, and just when I saw the picture of it, it was kind of clumpy and yucky, like how
Well,
and I'm like, I just kind of threw up in my throat a little bit,
yeah, I
and
can
I
imagine.
just didn't want, kind of like eggnog.
Well, I like eggnog, but
Well, I do too, but
only if it's
the
got some liquor
eggnog
in it.
well, that's right. Eggnog is a vehicle that you put something else in.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not exactly sure Paul Roger or whiskey or something like that's going to go good in the mayonnaise in the little juice box with the straw.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Not,
It's
not
amazing
me.
what people, them jam Japanese, them people's crazy.
They're definitely, well, I mean, they come up with all sorts of crazy stuff, but some of it is way off of the scales.
Of course, we say crazy, but we're the ones here that eat fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Now come on now. Don't,
That's what I'm saying. We ain't got no room to judge because we make up some stuff of our own.
and,
And
when I was a kid, I did do a deep fat or deep fried Snickers bar once, and that was pretty amazing, to be honest
well,
with
that
you.
I mean, well, and that's got to be kind of a fair, like
Oh yeah.
state fair type food and stuff like that. But
Oh yeah.
my favorite thing of all time is I'm giving them up for Lent. I'm gonna try to kick the habit. Is
Uh-oh.
zebra cake rolls.
Yep, we've talked about zebra cake rolls before. I know
I'm
your
going through
passion.
withdrawals. I'm going through withdrawals. I ain't had a zebra cake roll in at least 2 days. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I would just about kill a motherfucker right now for a zebra cake roll.
Well, I'm glad I'm about 180 miles away from you then, my friend. I
And
don't have any.
well, I wouldn't kill you.
Well, I
You,
appreciate that.
I don't have a lot of best good friends, and you one of my best good friends.
Well, thank you, sir. And I hold you with the same esteem. But if I had a zebra cake roll, I promise you wouldn't have to kill me to get it.
I know you would bring them up here to me
I
if I
would
was in dire need.
if
You
you're
could
in dire
fly
need.
over them and just drop them out of the airplane.
An air airlift zebra cake rolls.
Hey, it's just like the Berlin airlifts, baby.
Well,
You
and
just fixing a need.
talk talking about aviation though, that you are not. It is against FAA regulations to drop anything out of an airplane until you have taken all necessary precautions to ensure that no one will be hurt by what you drop
That
out
zebra
there.
cake roll ain't gonna hurt. They fluffy.
Well, a zebra cake roll at terminal velocity might be more devastating than than you
Hey,
think.
if that's the way to go, oh, that would be. I want it
Death,
on my tombstone. He death by zebra cake roll. And
there he
I'm gonna tell
was,
you,
just
you
standing
they got the
outside in his
you know
backyard, minding his own business.
home business, and the zebra cake roll just splattered him. But they make the zebra cakes that are not the rolls, right? There's two cakes in a plastic thing.
Uh-huh.
They don't taste the same. They're nasty.
All right.
It's got to be the zebra cake roll.
Got to be the
It's
zebra
got
cake
to be.
roll. All right, my
And
friend.
then I got something else, and I'm gonna I'm just gonna ask you one. I'm gonna preface this by saying there are not a lot of things in this world that really are something that is a deal breaker for me. I don't, other than like murder and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
I don't want to go around killing people unless they really deserve it. Then it might be a different story.
All right.
But like I don't really like thievery. But if the reason is good enough, like you're starving to death and you can't get it anywhere else, I can probably see that. I can get that. But there is one thing on this world that people do that I just there is no quarter for it, and I have no sympathy for them whatsoever, and that is somebody that drinks and drives.
All right.
That irks me to no end. I have had enough people and friends that have been hurt and killed by people driving drunk when they should have known better,
Mhm.
and it just I just can't understand why somebody would think that in today's when you got Uber and you
Mhm.
got everything else, how that is an acceptable thing to do.
Okay. And I mean, I'm not going to argue with you about it. And again, the thing is, in the days when that was, I mean, back in the days, geez, I think it was in the 70s and 80s is when it
Uh-huh.
changed. When Mothers Against Drunk Driving, but I mean, again, you could drive around with a beer in your hand before then.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but you got to remember too. Back then, you had cars that was made out of steel, and it was like
Right.
driving bumper cars. You didn't get killed.
Right. And people weren't driving, and I mean, again, you couldn't get most of those cars up to 70 miles an hour if they were downhill in a tailwind.
But damn,
So
they had nice fluffy seats. Some
they
had
had,
good fluffy
yeah, I
seats.
know. And I mean, again, when I was a kid, we didn't wear seat belts. I mean, we rode around in the back of the station wagon.
No,
All the
we rode
kids did
around in
back
the
then.
back of a pickup truck.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you do that now, they'll give you a ticket and put you in jail for child neglect.
Yep, absolutely. So, but again, we also, just like you said, the cars were made of steel. So, I mean, they
Right.
could hit each other. If they hit each other at 35 miles an hour, it'd probably scratch the fender. That'd
Right.
be about
It
it.
wasn't like if you hit something out 35 miles an hour, it's totaled.
Yep, absolutely. And, so I understand. I mean, I agree with you 100% that, ought not be, ought, that's a preventable accident by,
Right.
and there are too many people that have killed people and themselves or, critically injured folks by
Hmm.
running into them when they're drunk.
They
So,
gambling. It's just like World War
yep,
Three.
yep,
They gambling with World War Three, just like that jackass Zelensky. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
yipper,
I'm gonna tell you, you and I, we usually see eye to eye.
pretty much, yeah.
I do not see where it's our place to get involved in this. Technically, Ukraine was part of Russia to begin with,
Yep.
so it seems more like of an internal squabble.
Well, it is. They were the agricultural capital of the Soviet Union. That was their breadbasket. That'd be sort of like
Uh-huh.
us going to war with Ohio or, you know, Illinois or something like that. But
Well,
again, that and that therein lies the problem. I mean, again, we started encroaching in 2004, which would have been that would have been W, wouldn't it?
2004
Yeah.
was W. Yeah.
Okay. And then we encroached further again with the former Warsaw Pact
Hmm.
nations.
Well, and
And
this is the thing. They want Ukraine to be a part of NATO, which probably ain't going to happen in our lifetime.
well,
But
again,
now here's the thing though. If the European Union's so hot and heavy on protecting them, then why don't you put them in the European Union? That way they have the protection of the one currency and all that stuff.
well, better yet, just stop killing each other. I mean, why? What are you accomplishing? Now, I understand, and again, Putin told Obama that if NATO or if Ukraine joins NATO, that they would go to war, they would invade
Hmm.
because of it's the streets of Crimea. That's the only open water port that he has to get his navy out of the Baltic Sea. So I
Yeah.
understand. I mean, and that's, again, it goes back to the same thing as we got a whole lot more hot and bothered by the Soviet Union threatening to put missiles in Cuba. And we were willing to go to war with the we were willing to wipe out the planet to stop that. So we really can't get our butts up on our shoulders about him getting. I mean, if he was, I mean, he would wind up landlocked more than 6 months out of the year. His entire navy would be landlocked by
Mm-hmm.
NATO, and that's, I understand. Now I'm not sitting here. I'm not a Putin sympathizer, but I understand. If you corner an animal, they will fight.
Right.
Period. And it doesn't matter what animal you corner, they will fight. It doesn't matter.
Even even fuzzy little bunnies, and they'll
Even
bite and
fuzzy
kick
little
and scratch.
Oh, bunnies are vicious little critters
Hell, I
sometimes.
watched one jump up and attack a bird, and he killed that dabbling bird.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, have you ever
Well,
seen
you saw the guy in California.
which guy in California?
Well, he went to an antique shop and bought a gold egg.
All right.
Come to find out, that gold egg's been missing since the early 1900s.
Oh wow, was
And
it
it's a
Fabergé?
Fabergé egg, and it
Oh my
belonged to
goodness,
the Romanovs.
no kidding.
And it is now worth, and it is worth 34, 35 odd $1 million.
Good gracious,
Why
my
can't I
goodness.
ever find flea market finds like that?
And he bought it where?
He bought it at an antique shop somewhere in California, I believe, if I read the article right.
Well, boy, howdy,
And
I
I mean,
bet that.
he paid. I mean, it wasn't like I'm assuming that they knew it was. They were assuming it was a Fabergé knockoff. They did not realize that it was the real thing.
Well, I tell you what, the owner of that shop is kicking themselves pretty hard.
Well, I
They
think
should
they
have
got
taken
five
it.
figures for it.
They should have taken it to Pawn Stars and had it
Well, but the
appraised,
thing
because he knows a
is
guy.
I'm not sure, not exactly sure though they're going to get to keep it.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean that's a heritage thing, and I think the Russian government's suing to get it back because it was stolen from the Russian government.
Well, that's true. I don't know.
We'll just add that in on the peace treaty.
Well, there you go.
We'll give you your gold egg back,
Yeah.
and you can keep Crimea and Donbass and all that. Them Ukraine. Well, here's what's the funny thing is I thought those people in those areas voted to be part of Russia anyway.
My understanding is the Donbass region speaks Russian and not Ukrainian,
Uh
and
huh.
they considered themselves to be Russian, and they were mistreated by the Ukrainians.
Uh huh.
And I mean, again, the bottom line is we shouldn't have pushed it and started the war in the first dadgum place. We being NATO,
Hmm.
okay, but my understand, I mean, again, NATO is pretty much just the muscle of the United States, you know, because they're enacting our will in Europe pretty much from my reading of history. You know, it, it just, again, it's I'm not even going to say it. I'm tired of saying it. I feel like I've said it a million times. Our federal government has been out of control for at least the past 40 years, if not 60.
I'm gonna
And
say it's probably closer to 60.
yeah, and you know, it's about time that we had some people in there that acted like they had half a lick of sense rather than just
Hmm.
being out for stealing every penny that they can steal from the citizenry of the United States.
Yep. And you know what we need?
What's that?
A Gen Xer redneck to be
Yep.
president. That's what we're gonna do, boys and girls. You're gonna hear it here first. We're making the announcement. We don't know who's gonna be president or vice president, but the next time the redneck agenda, we running and we whooping ass.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think Trump and Vance and Musk are doing a pretty doggone good job. I just hope they can get the swamp completely drain the swamp this time.
Well,
It's
and
about
I
time.
find one thing about the DOGE thing that I really find funny
Hmm.
and I was at the car wash Saturday morning,
Uh-huh.
and we were sitting there, and I was talking to this guy, and he said, "I just don't understand this Elon Musk thing. He wasn't elected to do nothing." And I said, "Well, you don't like Elon Musk, who wasn't elected, finding that they're wasting the tax dollars, but you realize the people that were spending the money wasn't never elected either."
Yeah, that's an absolute truth.
And he looked at me, and he's just like a deer caught in headlights. And I said, I said, "Do you really think it's our place to be funding drag shows in Iraq and Iran and
Yeah.
Turkey and all these other places and stuff like that?"
I thought it was El Salvador or someplace
Well,
like that that they were.
same difference. Third
Yeah.
world hellholes. It don't matter. And same difference.
Well,
But they may speak a little bit different language, but hell, it don't matter.
oh no, I agree. Again, the bottom line
Hell, a
is,
big trip for me is packing up and riding to South Carolina, baby. That's like going to a whole nother world.
well, I understand. Now I tell
You
you,
people are crazy.
well, it depends on where you are. But, again, how many countries, how many nations on this planet are sending their money to the United States to help our homeless people or anything like that? And
None. And that's
zero.
the whole point.
Yeah.
We send all this money overseas, and we have absolutely nothing to show for it.
Well, and again, I'm okay with helping the homeless in other parts of the world. I'm okay with
Yeah,
helping out the Christians in other
as
parts of
long
the
as
world.
we help the people here first.
When we no longer have homeless and drug addicts in our country, then, you got, it goes back to, remove the log from your own eye before you worry about the splinter in mine.
It's
And we
kind of
should
like
be worried about the log in our eye rather than the
right, and it's
splinter in
kind of like
somebody
what
else's eye.
Ronald Reagan did when he walked away from the stuff in with Gorbachev. And
Hmm.
it's like Gorbachev wanted him to abandon the Star Wars program, and it didn't even exist. It wasn't even real. It was in a movie he
Yeah.
had been in. And it's like, but it's proven that it works because Israel's got the Iron Dome.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I've really been thinking about what and, and and you know me. I am not a Trump fan,
Mhm.
diehard
Right.
anyway. I like some of the stuff he does. Sometimes I just wish he would do it without just posting on all this stuff.
He's a bit
But
narcissistic. I'll give you that.
well, he is a lot narcissistic,
I
and
know.
it's like I
I'm
said
being kind.
before. It's he thrives on the chaos. He's a drama queen. He
He
likes the drama.
he is a bit of a drama queen. I'll give you that
But
too.
I have been really considering and reading and different various opinions about his idea of the United States actually taking over Gaza.
Oh.
And
Hmm.
I actually, the more I read that, it actually makes more sense. And the more I read about it and the more I read the reasoning why, is it makes more sense because you do not want Hamas in a place to where they have any ability to govern.
Truth.
Because truthfully, if Trump was of his word, they didn't deliver all the hostages.
Right.
We're still trying to get them back. That means that they're in default. They should
Yeah.
continue to be stomped like cockroaches
No, I
because
I
that's what
agree.
they are. And of course, they're all up in arms because Israel's cutting off the humanitarian aid, but all of that money in humanitarian aid wasn't going to the people
No.
in
Yeah.
in there that needed it. It was going back to Hamas.
Right. To build tunnels and weapons and stuff like that. But then that's what happens with the foreign aid. It always does the same thing. It doesn't go. You don't get foreign aid to people in Iraq and Iran or anywhere. It doesn't get to the
Hmm.
people it's supposed to go to. It is hijacked and used. Again, it's a money laundering. It turns into a
Right.
money laundering scheme immediately.
Hmm.
So
And I'll tell you what, if Zelensky wants more help, I think he needs to sign that rare earth
yeah,
metals thing. And I think he needs to turn over the crap about all that crap with the Bidens, about Joe Biden and the way he did things, so we can put that to bed for once and for all.
I just want to
I
know
don't
where all
care
the
if
money went.
Biden. I don't care whether Biden faces charges or anything. I just want the truth to be known.
Oh no, I agree. I think that it's high time. It's high time that we stopped allowing politicians to lie to the people. It's not okay for us to lie to the politicians, so it's not okay for the politicians to lie to us either. You know, if they can't tell you something, it should just be I mean, if they can't tell you something because of national security, it should just be a no comment situation. But, you know, that is
Well,
what it is.
but in today's world, you're telling me I can look at every corner of the earth on Google Maps, and you're really telling me there's something that is can't be told because of national security? You know, it's going to be in the National Enquirer anyway.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those things nobody, you know, the conspiracy theorists are going to have to come up with new conspiracies because they've all turned out to be true.
Well, but they aren't conspiracies then, are they? They're fact.
No, that's true. I mean, again, that's like,
But
it's
I
like
want
being
this.
fact
But
checked
my
on
thing is though,
Facebook.
is like, well, that's true too. This one is the one because I have read all kinds of books on the Kennedy assassination, and
Hmm.
I want to know, and it's not, we're at the point now to where who pulled the trigger, it doesn't really matter, right?
Right.
That's irrelevant.
Hmm.
The point is why did they feel the need to lie to cover up that he was actually killed from the front? I mean, I don't understand what they gained from that.
Well, what they gained was a patsy in Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, bottom
Well,
line.
they also had a couple of, they had one in Tampa and one in Chicago that they were grooming for that as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a mess.
it is. And you know what?
Would
You've made me to the point where I want to go get drunk.
I'm terribly sorry, or should I say you're welcome, or should I
Oh,
say
a little
condolences?
bit of both.
All right.
I'll toast you.
All right, my friend.
All right. That's the snout to the curly tail. And if you ain't making your man a sandwich, get your ass in the kitchen and do it.
Or at least get him some drinkable mayonnaise.
That's right. Or some zebra cake rolls. And we gone.
You have a good night.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait, can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND. Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND. Get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.